I think it was from that point on, I was like, one day I'm going to be one of those guys.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Repo Rod. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Thank you for taking the time to come on my show.
No problem.
So, do you want to introduce yourself to the people? Tell them where you were born and raised.
I was born in Central Jersey, raised in Central Jersey, resided there most of my life.
What was your early childhood like?
My childhood I was raised up in a family-owned construction industry business, sun up to sundown, and I think I was about 12 years old when my pop put me on the first machine, an old excavator digging out a septic bed and trenches, and you went to work at a young age, and
Good old days,
that
right?
pretty much, yeah, they were great days, man. You didn't think they were so great then, but my father's passed away now for a couple of years, and I wish I had those days back to spend a minute more with them.
Yeah. Did you go through high school? How was your
Yeah,
upbringing like that?
went through high school, went to work. I think I was about 16 and had 3 jobs. Worked in a gas station, pumping gas, turning wrenches, towing vehicles, accident calls, did construction, and so forth and so on there.
What was your first experience like with motorcycles? When were you first introduced to it? And what did you want to be when you got older?
Honestly, I was introduced to motorcycles as a real young kid, dirt bike riding. Probably 8 years old, my dad had bought me my first dirt bike. I was just before 16. I bought my first Harley Davidson. I was riding that before I even had a license. I had, I think 88 was my first solo trip out to Sturgis. Rode out, rode back. Had one of those crappy AMF Harley Davidsons. It gave me nothing but trouble all the way out, all the way back. Cost me a fortune. And that was the actual first time that I had encountered any members of the Hells Angels, was that year in 88 when I was out in Sturgis. Came across some of them. They were staying in the same campground where I was. Really good time. They were good guys. Those guys were probably in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that I had encountered that year out there. And I think it was from that point on, I was like, one day I'm going to be one of those guys.
So it gave off like an aura to you.
Oh yeah, there was definite draw to it. My daddy always, if you got in a fight and you came home with a bloody nose, did you hit him back? If you didn't hit him back, Dad put you in the car and took you back over there and told you go on up in that yard and get your shit done. And it didn't matter. You got knocked down, you knocked them down, but you stood up for yourself. You always be a man. Don't ever turn your tail and run for nothing.
Now, was there motorcycle clubs in your area?
Yeah, where I grew up back in that time, I think Breed Motorcycle Club was the heavy presence in where I was. There were Pagans, Henchmen, Jersey Iron, and I think the Bandanas was one of them. And, some other little mom and pop kind of clubs, but the big ones, were Breed and Pagans at that time in the area where I grew up.
So where was your first interaction with them again after the campground? Where were you first like integrated with these guys?
Up at they used to have a run up in I think it was Cobesville, New York, if I'm saying it correct. It was Am every year to Cobesville County Fairgrounds, and I ran into Tom Thinker and a few others up there and told them, hey man, I'm good. I knew a couple of the guys that were there, changed numbers, give me a call, and that's how it started.
But they're not in your area with a big presence, right?
No, Now, the Angels were not a big presence in my area. They were, New York City, New York Nomads. You had Philadelphia starting up. I think at that time, Baltimore was still a prospect charter. New Jersey was still a prospect charter. There was no Hell's Angel Club in New Jersey at that time at all.
And you're in lower New Jersey, right? Closer to Philadelphia?
Yeah, yep. I worked for 20 some years. I worked over in Pennsylvania after I left my father's construction company. So I was always over in the Philadelphia area. And
When did you first know about the Pagans, and what was your thoughts on them?
I knew of the Pagans at a very young age, nothing for nothing. I don't care for them. I grew up with some of them. I had some of them that lived with me. Their kids went to school with my kids. I just was never drawn to the Pagans or the breed. I didn't like the format. I'm not saying that they're not a stand-up club. They are. They're a hardcore old school club too. And I'm a guy that just you give that respect that people earn, and they're a true outlaw motorcycle club. I give them that. But I just wasn't interested in that.
You're kind of introduced to these guys up in New York, and so how do you start like hanging around them? Do you just go there and meet them, or
Next week I went down and Tommy and I hung out, and a couple other people and a couple other guys in Philly, and that was the start.
now who's Tommy? Can you tell the people who Tommy was?
Tommy was an ex-pagan who became a Hell's Angel. I'm sure a lot of the viewers will know that, when the leader of the Pagans went to jail, Tommy and I don't know, 70, 80 other pagans left the Pagans. And right or wrong, indifferent, whatever, but they left, and Tommy wanted to be a Hell's Angel. He didn't want to be a pagan anymore. Many of them never made it past the curb, so to say. From what I understand, quite a few of them wound up going back to the Pagans. Tommy became the vice president of Philadelphia. There was a guy, Mangy was the president, but he was up on some federal stuff, so he couldn't come around. But Tommy ran the show. They called him Thinker. He was known as Thinker when he was a pagan. Out of all the guys that were local to me, we'll use the word local within Philadelphia and in the state of Pennsylvania, Tommy was he was the most stand-up Hell's Angel and individual outside of the club that you could ever call a brother. And to this day, I respect him. He lost his life for the club. He was, shot and killed on the expressway by whomever. They never solved his murder. There's speculation out there on what took place. It is what it is.
So how long are you hanging out? So you go there and you start hanging around, right? That's the process. You hang out first.
Yes. Yep. A very short period. Maybe we're going to say maybe 12 weeks, 12, 14 weeks. I was brought into Prospect after that. I only hung around, I think, like 12 or 14 weeks, and I became a prospect with the Hells Angels.
Do you want to walk me through the process of what that day that you went in and said, I want a prospect, or did they ask you?
I asked them a couple of times. There was no set time, and there was a couple of them that told me, you got enough guys behind you that asked to be brought in on the floor at a meeting. And if that's what you want to do, tell them you think you're ready, and they're, suck it up, because they're going to rouse you around in there when you do it. I did. I walked right in there, told them what my intention was, what I wanted to do, and where I wanted to be one day, and got told to go ahead back outside. Okay. And, not, oh yeah, we're going to make you a prospect or whatever. And I'm going to tell you, I think like 3-4 hours went by, and I got called back inside. Thinker actually was the one that walked over to me and gave me my bottom rocker and my MC patch.
So it said
And
Philadelphia.
prospect tag. Yes.
Did it say Philly? Yeah.
Hmm.
So now, what was it like from that day on?
It was rough, but there was a lot of not being home, a lot of being everywhere, going everywhere. I'm not putting myself up here, but I think I went to twice as many things as some of the members went to. It was good. You get out there and you get to meet people who hopefully are going to be your potential brothers one day and be righteous with you and stand up with you. And, you got, I can't tell you in the time that it took, the amount of guys I saw come and go, prospects hang around, members, the amount of guys that came and go from there, good, bad, or indifferent, that just couldn't do it. It was phenomenal turnover across, any state across the United States, wherever I went. You meet guys, you got them in your phone, and a month later, 2 weeks later, hey, I'm not there anymore, or you get told, hey, you can't contact this one because they're out bad now. They did something, whatever it was.
The ones that are out bad, there's absolutely no
There,
contact.
there is no contact. I don't care if technically if they're your blood relative and they're in the club and they get put out bad, you're not talking to them. You're not going to family dinner with them. Nothing. It's done.
What if they're out good? Have you ever seen people come around that were out good and still be back around the club?
Yeah, there are some guys. I saw a number of guys. They were around for a while. They left. They came around. Not many. Not many. A lot of guys when they left and walked, and that was it for them.
What were some of the places that you've been around the country that you liked or that you did not like?
When I was doing it, I'm going to tell you, like, I don't think there was a single place I went that I disliked. I can't honestly remember going any place, being in that realm of, you know, either whether it was prospecting or when I was a man, that I didn't enjoy myself because I was where I wanted to be and they were, your brothers. I traveled a lot. I think I became best of friends with quite a few of the Illinois Nomad members, where I met Chicago members out there, going Kentucky, down South Carolinas, a couple trips out west. There were a few of them. We were cautioned kind of like go in, get out before it gets crazy. That's what it is there. Go and rock it out with your family because that's what your brother is. Your brother becomes your family, or they're supposed to.
So now when you're traveling these other places, what happens if you go through somebody else's territory? Do you have to let them know that you're going through? Like, what's the process?
Another HR, yeah, yeah. You're supposed to, reach out to somebody and hey, I'm coming through your area, whatever, and basically it's kind of like a contingency thing. I never rode and did not fly my colors, no matter where I was. When the war was going on with the Pagans down in Philly, I flew, I rode every day with my colors on. It can be helpful, like a certain place I would go, they'd say, hey, brother, man, don't take this route because you're going right past like the outlaw's house or something, take this other route. It's a little bit safer for you where you might not have a chance on getting clipped as easy. Not like, hey, be scared of going this way. Nah, go that way if you want to go that way, but just to let you know, you're going to be riding right past the outlaws clubhouse if you go that way, and it's your choice whether you go that way or not. Me, I went that way.
So
I mean, I was straight up. I was down in Kentucky for a couple of things, and they were like, "Brother, don't go down that. You shouldn't be using that highway back there. You're like 40 miles of nothing," and there was nothing. There was literally like a gas station and a couple farms, and there was nothing. If they wanted to get me, they could have got me. If the time was right. I was like, oh, really? Well, I made sure the next 3 days I was there. That's the road I took back and forth.
you never felt like you had a target on your back?
Oh, nah, you know what? I guess you're a little bit crazier then. It didn't bother me. I figured sooner or later, one day it was going to happen. I was going to live it. 199% every day. Every day, I was true to that patch, and I'm flying. You want to come for it? Come for it. You're not taking it. You're gonna have to earn it.
So now during your prospecting phase, how long did that last?
Probably about 15 months, I think.
Now during that time, was
Somewhere.
there any situations that stand out in your mind?
There were a few. I seen. I'll put it this. We were out to a USA run, and there was another ex-pagan that was a prospect, and for whatever the reason was, he happened to miss like the prior 2 or 3 runs to be able to become a member. So he wound up. He had like some Texas chopper, which has pretty much, if you know bikes, a standard engine you can get parts anywhere for. And he claimed something happened to his bike so he couldn't ride out. He got called on the carpet at the run. I think there was, I'm just going to say, I think 5 or 6 Philly members at that run. I think it was an East Coast president and somebody else at that time. They were talking to me, and then they were like, "Hey, man, find this dude and send him over to us." I'm walking around, I find the guy, I say, "Hey, man, you got to go catch up with them." "Oh, man, what the hell?" And I said, "Oh, man, just tell them the truth. Don't lie to them. Tell them the truth. And if you got to stand up and put them up, that's what you got to do, but be truthful." I'm pretty sure he lied through his teeth to them, because they came over to me and told me, like, "And take that dude back to the hotel, get his shit, and get him the fuck out. Don't bring him back here to this run again." That's because he lied to him, and man, there was times, I seen dudes get beat down. I seen prospects get beat down, members get beat down for lying, for, numerous different things. If you went in there and you were a man, you were honest, and you held your faith to what you were doing, you really didn't have a problem. You might have to pick them up and defend yourself and hold your honor. If somebody disrespects you, man, you pick your hands up, man, and you just take care of business. You hit the ground, it's supposed to be. You hit the ground, it's done. The other dude stick his hand out, your brother pick you up, and it's over. And it's never to be discussed again, never to be another issue about it. Does it always go that way? No.
Yeah, once they hit
But
the
for the
ground, there's supposed to be no feet or anything put on them.
oh, it's hands, no gloves, no rings, your bare hands. You fight your brother with your bare hands. No kicking him, no stomping him when he's down. Is that always the case? No.
Have you had
But for
any
the most part,
altercations while you were
oh,
prospecting?
I had a few. I had a member in Philly actually try to, after he had quit, I was having some paint work and stuff done on one of my bikes. Try to give me some shit when I went to pick my paint work up, and I beat him down. He was a piece of shit. He's a guy, when we first talked, I had discussed, he's supposed to be out there working, and he's sitting home, sitting in the garage, cracking beers. I gotta jump back. Tommy was what held Philadelphia together. Pennsylvania would have been one of the, I think at this day and age, one of the largest states that the Hells Angels would have been in, because there were so many people that did not want to be like, there's Vagos there. I'm not sure. I've been told there's Mongols in Pennsylvania now. I don't know that for a fact. You had Wheels of Soul in Philadelphia, a whole bunch of other ones, Outlaws. But there was such a draw. Before Tommy was killed, you pull down that street for church, and I'm going to tell you what, that street the house, you could not park a car on that entire street. There were so many bikes and so many people out there. There was probably 20 friends, 30, 40 hang-arounds, at least 30 prospects, and I'm going to say at that time, like probably 20, 25 members, just in Philadelphia.
It's pretty big.
Oh, Pennsylvania would have been huge. huge for the Angels, a huge win state for the Angels.
Now, how long were the Outlaws out there for, and did you guys have any issues with them?
The Outlaws in Philadelphia were formerly Warlocks in Philadelphia, not to be confused with the same ones that are down in like Florida and stuff. But
So the Florida ones and these ones are different.
yeah, they're a different Warlock. Now, the Philadelphia Warlocks, and that doesn't go the same for all of their different charters, but the Philadelphia Warlocks, we had sit downs with them, and an agreement, man. We'll hang out together, we'll be seen together. We're not going to fight your fight for you, but they had the Pagans pushing on them. We're not going to fight your fight for you, but if we're with you and shit goes down, we're not going to leave you stand alone. We'll stand with you. And there were some old, Warlocks were a tough bunch in Jersey and Pennsylvania. They were some hardcore, really old school good dudes. I'm good friends with a retired New Jersey Warlock. He's probably late 60s. I don't think he's 70 yet, but he was a badass dude. And he still is to this day.
So what was the process when you get your patch? Can you walk me through that day?
All right, well, the day you get patched, you don't know it's coming. I mean, some guys know it's coming. I knew it was coming sooner or later. I don't remember exactly where I was when I had gotten patched, But it was a good day, man. We had a pretty good party afterward. No outside, no citizens. It was just dudes that we were in the club. We all got together, man, celebrated. To me, it really didn't feel any different to me. I was still there with the same ritual. The only thing that changed for me was I was a full member, not a prospect anymore. But I still treated everybody with the same respect, prospect. I can give you, for instance, we'll get into it later on. I was a vice president of Pennsylvania Nomads, and I'm down in Kentucky for a thing that was going on where, there was a pretty good chance of having some trouble at it. And I'm out at the street with all the prospects that are doing security. I'm standing out there with them, and a member from somewhere comes up to me and goes, what the hell are you doing? And I go, what do you mean, what am I doing? Man, it's dangerous as fuck standing out there. I go, yeah, I know it is. Well, man, plus you're flying, that you're the vice president, you're a target. And I go, yeah, okay. And what's that got to do with anything? Because you see all those guys out there doing security, I got their back. And hopefully if something happens, they got my back. But you know what? When those prospects, if they make it, don't make it, whatever. But when they become members, hopefully they're going to remember me standing out there with them as a vice president, standing with them and teaching them true brotherhood, not bullshit brotherhood, not a lie. If you become my brother one day, I want you to remember I was the guy that would stand out there with you no matter what the consequences, no matter what could possibly happen, because I think that's the best way that you can teach somebody to be the best member that they could possibly be. Don't bully somebody because you're a patch. Don't treat them like they're a piece of garbage because they're a prospect. There's things that you got to do and ways, but I think you get more out of a person on a final guideline of give them respect and show them that, when they become that person one day, if they make it, that this is how you should treat the people coming in. Because if I'm laying down next to you and bullets are flying at me, I don't want you to look at me and go, boy, I hope this son of a bitch gets hit with one of these because he was a shithead to me when I was a prospect. I'd rather have that guy going, here, jump on top of me. I got you. I remember what you did for me.
Have you seen some members abusing their power?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's power struggles. There's guys that step outside of the bylaws, whether they hold a higher ranking position through something or They're politically connected to numerous different charters. They can make different moves that shouldn't be done.
What was it like? Did you feel like you got treated a lot different once you got the patch?
Well, I'll say once I got patched, I can remember the ones that were shitty when I was prospecting. For an instance, there was a member I had met in the early stages of prospecting. We were up, I think, in Hartford for an anniversary party, and it was about 15 below zero, 40-mile-an-hour wind, and we're standing outside doing security. I think he was a Fairbanks, Alaska president at that time. He's outside in a t-shirt and a flannel shirt, shooting the shit with me. I'm freezing my ass off. He goes to his truck, gets me another jacket to put on, gives me his card with his phone number on it. And he says to me, one day when you make member, I said, well, if I make it. And he grabbed me by the shirt and says, let me fucking tell you something. Never say if I make it. He says, I've been around a long time and I can tell you, you're going to make it. You're going to be one day. And he says, this is my card with my phone number on it. Make sure I'm the first person you call when you get patched. And he was. I always saved his card. And I made sure he was the first phone call that I made.
It felt good to call him that day, right?
It felt great to call him because I'd only seen him a couple other times. When I called him, I says, hey, man, I don't know if you'll remember me. And I told him where I'd first met him. And he's like, man, I remember you. He said, you were freezing your ass off that night. I go, yeah, so it was. And I think we were out there for about 10 hours in that -degree weather with heavy wind and snow blowing. And that was cold. And burn barrels that were going and stuff, they didn't do nothing. They did nothing.
Ride your bikes in the snow too?
Well, I'll tell you what, as we had talked when Bear's funeral,
yeah,
I left out of Jersey and rode up. And it was sleeting, raining, snowing, and I rode. There was a lot of bikes at that funeral. I can remember guys from Baltimore, they trailered their bikes up into New York and then rode the rest of the way. And I rode home in it. I rode in the rain. I rode in the cold. I put a rain suit on top of my dry riding suit in the winter if it was shitty. And, if I'd look at the weather, I'd look out the window, and if there wasn't too much snow on the ground, I'd give it hell.
It's still dangerous to be riding with the snow. And
being a Hells Angel's dangerous. It's, riding in the snow ain't nothing.
Yeah. The least of your worries, right?
Yeah, it's the least of your worries. Is exactly right. Not far back, and I'll mention one guy here, Pee Wee, Charlie Goldsmith. There was a good brother of ours who was also out of the club, BA up in Michigan. I got a phone call. I forget what day he was put to rest, but I got a phone call the night or the morning before his actual funeral. Told me that BA had passed away, and I knew BA, and I was like, wow. I knew his health wasn't good and everything, and I said, I'm going to be there. And brother, don't worry about it, man. You don't have to be there. And I said, nah. So I actually hopped in my car, and because I had worked all day, I jumped in my car, and I'm like, I'll pull over and sleep a couple hours behind the wheel. And then I got like 300 miles out, and my alternator took a shit in my car. I got picked up, came back to my house, got on my bike. I rode almost 900 miles nonstop.
Wow.
Pulled into BA's tattoo parking lot. I'm standing there, and they're like, holy shit, you just rode 900 miles to come to BA's funeral? I'm like, oh yeah. Plus the extra mileage of back and forth prior to that. So I'm awake for like a day and a half now, exhausted. I see this bike coming down the road, and it's Pee Wee. And he pulls in, and he just, I actually got a video of it. He's like, holy shit, brother. And he stops his bike and gets off. He's like, oh my, you're here? And I'm like, yeah, man, the bike's all packed up, man. I'm here. He's like, I can't believe you made it. And I'm like, I wouldn't miss it, man. You know, we might not be angels anymore, but I wouldn't miss it. Hung out. We did ride after his viewing. We did the funeral. We did the funeral run, you know, after it and everything. And went back. We had some dinner that night, and Pee Wee and I actually had the room together. Passed down for about 4 hours. Got on that bike, and I came another 900 miles back home.
When did you first meet Pee Wee?
Early 2000, probably somewhere in there.
What year did you become a member?
Early 2000 something. Honestly, I don't remember right now. I've had a couple of bumps on the head since then.
Yeah. Have you ever met George when you were in the club?
Yes, I did. Yep, George Christie. I met him.
What was your experience?
Met Sonny.
Sonny too.
Met Sonny several times. George Christie. He's a great individual. True brother. I respect him to this day. And I think he did phenomenal things for the club. You know, like many people, there comes a point in time where this is it. This is enough. You know, a lot of people I've heard, you know, people say George is a rat. George wasn't no rat. You want to say, well, Sonny called the cops on his old lady. But that was okay because it was Sonny.
I mean, she was having a medical emergency, wasn't she?
I don't know. I don't know the whole bottom line on it, but I heard it had to do a little bit something with a domestic or something. But yeah, he picked the phone up and called the police. They had to all the paperwork on it, but that was Sonny Barger, so it was okay.
Do you remember the first time you met Sonny Barger?
Yeah. Yep. I was actually with a chick then called Boots. She had been around the club for years. We were walking past him. He was busy talking to a whole bunch of people. And he turned and he said to her, "Hey, Boots, the hell, you're going to walk by me and not even say hello?" And I turned and I looked at her. I'm like, "You know Sonny that well?" And we go over and, you know, we're shooting the shit with him. We walk away and I remember looking at her and she's like, "What? What?" And I said, "You know Sonny Barger that well?" She goes, "I've been around here a long time." It was just, you know, I'd never seen him call out some other lady. And, you know, he told me, man, he said, "You got a stand up gal standing next to you. If anything ever goes bad, you won't have to worry about her."
So can you walk me through what it's like to have an old lady around the club?
Yes and no, because I pretty much didn't have an old lady much while I was around the club because of multiple reasons. Number one, they were a pain in the ass. Number two, they caused trouble. Number three, they get members thrown out because they don't know how to shut up. And I know probably a lot of your viewers are women, but that's a man's club. It's structured in a man's world, and that's how it is. You know, I'm not putting women down, but you know, the club business is club business. It's not club business, your business and your old lady's business. And a lot of them can't stand that. Or they become what they call the patch queens, where they, you know, they become their own imitation female Hell's Angels, which they're not. You know, I can remember hearing the dude's old lady one time, "Well, if I was president," well, bitch, you're not. And you never will be. You'll still sit out on the bench in front of the house while the members are inside, like it or not. But I found it was a lot easier not to have somebody while you were there, because I didn't answer to nobody. I did my thing. I went to work, got done work, and went to being a Hell's Angel.
Once someone's with a woman, if it's your old lady, no other member is supposed to be with her, right?
Oh, no. Not in Hell's Angels, anyway.
Have you ever
I don't know
seen
how
that
these other ones.
Have you ever seen that happen?
Not in the Hell's Angels, no. I never saw anyone stupid enough to mess with some other Hell's Angels old lady, because that That would be probably the second stupidest thing they could do next to being a rat.
Have you ever seen a woman like break up with a girl and then go with another member?
Oh yeah, yep. And you know, as far as I understand it, how that rolls is, say, just use the name Becky. Becky and I start seeing one another. I find out, well, Becky was with a member in California. Okay, I need to pick the phone up and call that member in California and say, hey, man, this is who I am, and I got this girl, Becky. I started to see what's the deal with her. Is everything good? Because you're not with her no more. Number one, I want to make sure there's not a problem with her. And number two, I want to make sure you don't have a problem with it. Because if you wind up with a problem with it and I didn't call you and at least say, hey, what is it? Then I'm pretty sure we're going to wind up with a problem. So it's giving respect. You give respect to your brother. You make sure of what you're doing before you do it.
Now, have you ever seen any accidents during your time going on all these road trips?
Oh, many. There was I don't think where he was. There was a Pennsylvania member, York County member, going out to a USA run. Big dude, man, big gym guy. He wound up having an accident, flipped his bike multiple times, had broken neck, other things. He was, like I said, really big. So he didn't know he had all these problems after he had that accident. And I can remember getting a call from one of the York County guys. Hey, man, can you get you guys together there and come on out to Dave's house? And I'm like, yeah, why? What's up? He's dying. I go, what do you mean he's dying? He said, yeah, man, ever since he had that accident going to the run, and that was not a long time afterwards. And when I walked into Dave's house, Dave was, from being a big burly guy, he looked like my pinky. His clothes were draped off of him. His head was all like locked down on his side. And I remember he came up, gave me a hug, and he's like, yeah, man, he goes, I'm going to die. You know that, right, man? I don't know if they told you that. Since that accident. And I'm like, God damn. I seen a guy in Baltimore go down, head slid right into the curb. No helmet. Poop. He didn't die, but man, he was in the hospital forever with brain injury. And there was, I forget where, there was, I wasn't actually there, but there was a Jersey guy that got killed on his way home from, I think, Laconia. Saw a couple dudes go down when we were on a run somewhere in Pennsylvania. One guy come up over a bridge with a curve too quick and lost it. He went right over the railing down the embankment. Oh yeah, we don't ride like 55, 60. We ride like 105 and 150, whatever.
It's like nose to tail, right?
Oh yeah. There's no 25-mile-an-hour zone you laugh at. No, it go as fast as you can or as slow as you want. My old lady still complains because I like to ride down the road at about 120, 130. I can feel her legs squeezing me like, oh God, please slow down. Nah, get used to it. Hang on.
It's an adrenaline rush, right?
Well, I kind of joke like I can't ride 55. I'll swerve like I'm drunk because I don't even know how to ride fast.
Now, when you guys are riding in the pack, have you ever seen an accident while you guys are in the pack?
Yeah, I'd seen a couple of accidents in the pack. Took down a few different members in that accident at a time. But I got to say this is, you're riding next to your brother and your brothers so much that it becomes like brushing your teeth in the morning when you get up. You're just repetitious. And I always tried to ride with, a certain few guys that I rode with all the time. near me and when we went places, because I was around you long enough and you've been around me long enough. You know what I'm going to do and I know what you're going to do. And, if something happens in front of us without saying anything, we already know how one another's going to react and which way to go and what to do. It's just second nature.
Now, when you're on your way coming up in the club, was there any altercations with any opposition?
Well, there was always stuff going on in Philly because of all the ex-pagans that, they allowed to become Hell's Angels, which should have never taken place.
How did you feel about the ex-members?
I felt great about Tommy. The rest of them that were, I don't want to offend the Pagans, but those guys that were ex-Pagans, they were fucking cowards when they were Hell's Angels. They were liars and cowards. Not stand-up guys. I had no time, nothing for them. I'd mentioned it earlier. Tommy became a Hell's Angel. He was a true Hell's Angel. A lot of people can wear the patch, but to become a true Hell's Angel, you got to work at it, and you got to be righteous. And I saw so many guys after Tommy was murdered, who, man, I'm this, I'm that, I was this, I was that.
They're talking about when they were in the Pagans, they were this and that, right?
Yeah. Boast about who they were and how long they were this and that. And, I swung the door open in the back of the house one time. Well, man, you want to come on out? Them telling me there might be a day we need to go out that door. Well, I opened that door. Now's as good a time as any, man. Bring your ass on out here. Bring it out and let's get this done. Oh, I wasn't saying it. No, you were saying that. You exactly said that. So bring your punk ass on outside and get it on. But you don't come outside because you're a bitch. You're a lot of bullshit talk. I got no respect for him. None.
How long into you being a member does Tommy get killed? And what were some of the issues you guys were having with the Pagans?
Man, there was issues left and right with the Pagans, and partially because the guys that were there, they were fucking cowards, They were cowards, man. They were hiders. They were patch wearing sissies. They didn't stand. There was a couple dudes that, could put it on if you had to and stuff. I do believe give them credit where it's due, but a majority of them, no, they didn't do anything. They didn't go anywhere. If they did, it was like you had to drag them there. None of them would ride. None of them would ride to the Philadelphia clubhouse after Tommy had gotten killed. It's too dangerous. I'm riding my bike every week. Every week, you got church, I'm riding. It's too dangerous. We took a vote. Wait a minute. You're Hell's Angels, and you took a vote that it's too dangerous to ride your bike to the clubhouse. That's not a Hell's Angel. Man, put your skirt on and go play in the little girls' schoolyard, because you wasn't Hell's Angels no more, if you ever were.
So can you walk me through when Tommy gets killed? Walk me through what happened in your life, like how it was from your aspect, and then tell me what you heard happen.
I got the call. This dude gets patched that day, and he wants to have his patch party that night at a strip club down in Philly. And I can remember Tommy like, nah, we're not going there, man. That, when I was a pagan, that was our spot. We're not going to that place because that's definitely going to have a problem there for sure. There were so many other places they could have went, and I was at a funeral that evening. Tommy pulled out of cheerleaders in Philadelphia. They exited, and it was raining and stuff, and we knew that it was a hot spot. So that was a prospect that rode his motorcycle there. And Tommy actually, I think the following morning, if I'm correct, Tommy had to actually turn himself in for like weekends. Um, so he had to get home so he could go walk in for weekend vacations.
Yeah.
So he was leaving a little bit earlier than everybody else. You know, I gotta say, I half blame the members that were at that thing. You let your president walk out of that nightclub, get in his vehicle, and drive home alone. You allowed him to be killed because you did not do what you were supposed to do. He exited, went down, got on the expressway, and a vehicle came around the corner that had, that was on camera, and it's all, the all different media sources. It shows, a vehicle leaving, and the vehicle left cheerleaders. They were in the parking lot. Exited, followed them down the road. They turned on the expressway. Supposedly, Tommy was returning fire while being fired upon. He cuts off this ramp. Funny enough, he winds up crashing into the used car lot of the member that was getting patched that night. The bullet had struck him in the top of his head, came out the back of his neck, you know, and pretty much he was dead on the impact of that bullet. Man, it was law enforcement heat, like quadruple the normal of just law enforcement and task force and stuff being up your rear end. Man, they were on you, white on rice. You couldn't shake them. There was one or two of them following you everywhere you went, when you went to work, when you went home. You go to the corner store, get a pack of cigarettes, they were there with you. Because they knew supposedly a war was starting. That was not a good time because it was just, you couldn't literally move. My kids were small then, and a girl I was seeing, she actually had my kids with her out at a shopping mall. They were following her and my children. It was so bad that they scared the hell out of her. She thought it was, other people following her.
Yeah.
And I went up and literally cracked the window on the car that night down the street from my house. Almost drugged the guy out of the car before he pulled his badge up. And I'm like, dude, man, stop. This is too much. When you frighten my children, do your job. I don't care about you doing your job, but don't scare my kids because you step over a line with me. There was all kinds of stuff that went on, like we had talked about the sign that the Pagans were standing on, They never chased the Hells Angels out of Philadelphia. I will make that clear. The Pagans never, ever, ever chased the Hells Angels out of Philadelphia. I froze Philadelphia's charter. It wasn't closed. Just so that's a clear thing, because I hate when I hear that. No one ran. No one ran. York County got closed. Philadelphia was frozen. Pennsylvania Nomad Charter started.
So what's it mean when
Nobody.
something gets frozen, when they freeze a chapter?
It could be reopened at a later date and time if there was enough members. And that was the thought, build that Nomad Charter and, combine resources, get rid of the bad ones, keep the good ones. Nobody lived close enough, so you met the guidelines and all, and build it where you can become strong. And then when you can back up your other charters in your state, then allow that to open back up. When you have a new charter somewhere in New York, allowed them to be, become that, and you don't support them, you can't have a problem with what takes place if you've been member for 30, 40, 50 years and you will not get up off your ass to go there and say, hey, man, your structure needs to change. You need to tighten this up, man. Clean your house up. Do this or that. And I'm just telling you this because I've got the knowledge. And all those years I've been there. Let me help you. But you just, you know, I want to get this blemish off my hands here and get clean hands. Nah,
Can you tell me about the
that's not.
grenade situation that happened?
Yeah, supposedly there was a grenade that a pagan prospect, I believe, is what the law enforcement was telling us. Had thrown a grenade over the fence or something with a gas can, and didn't go off, and that's when Philadelphia's clubhouse got raided. You know, I wasn't there, but hearsay is a Philadelphia member took that and went and placed it out in an open field or something somewhere. You know, just got rid of it. Whatever the feds came down and they were like, look, listen, we heard the phone call they made. Hey, we just blew the Philadelphia clubhouse up. Well, Philadelphia clubhouse is still standing. It didn't go off, dummy. Bottom line, this went on for weeks, man. I mean, like, you went to the bathroom, you had to wipe your butt, they were there. You got in the shower, they were there. You went to work, they were there. They were on you so hard. One task force guy that was the head was always around. He literally pull up in the street, yo, Repo. And I'm like, and he goes, nah, don't tell me fuck you right now. Because that's what I would tell him when they, you know, hey, I want to talk to you. Fuck you. I got nothing to say to you. He says, no, listen. He said, this is the bottom line. We are going to be on you guys non-stop. And there was a couple other Philly members standing there. I won't mention their names. Until we get the grenade back. I don't know what you're talking about. Nah, we're not playing that. We know that they threw that over your fence wall. We know it for a fact, and we're not getting up off of you guys. We'll keep grabbing you, snatching you up, bringing you in, violate this, that, until we get that grenade. Well, mysteriously enough, a couple days later, one of the members, I go, wow, it's awful quiet around the house now, huh? Yeah, I had so-and-so go get this thing and go turn it in. Oh, wow, so it was real, huh? You know, because I wasn't there. And then the heat came off, and it went back to just a normal task force bullshit of, you know, bugging you because you're an OMG. You know, the street sign thing, that was that prospect that actually Tommy was protecting the night that he got murdered from being hit. Worked for a township and made that sign. And he was told, do not put that up on top of that wall because that wall is only this tall, and I can reach up and just grab it and take it.
Was it on the side of the clubhouse or the front of the clubhouse?
It was on a concrete block wall out front with a fence on top of it, and he just put it on top of the wall. And he was told, do not put that there. And it sat right on along the street line, you know, on the sidewalk. Don't put that there because we didn't have somebody at that house 24/7. Don't put that thing there because they're going to pull up in front of our house and they're going to take that, and then we're going to have a bunch of bullshit to try to explain. He goes and did it anyway. They came and took the sign.
How long?
You know,
until they took the sign? How long was it up for?
Oh, it might have been up a week, if that. Maybe. I saw it in the paper that morning, in the Philadelphia paper, and I was getting phone calls. I'm like, well, you stupid. You're stupid. You know, you told him don't put that thing up there, and he went and did it anyway. Tommy gets murdered. You're protecting that prospect on a motorcycle. You quit a couple of days later. You quit the club after the vice president on paper. Tommy was the president. Gets murdered, saving your ass. You quit the club. You're a real stand-up guy. A couple of days later, there's another member who, you know, yeah, he was MMA. He was this, he was that. He comes walking in, all of his stuff, puts it on the bar top. Man, you know, I got to quit. You know, this isn't for me. I got a wife. I got a family. It's not what I bargained for. Well, I don't know what the total number of years later, but he became one of those Pennsylvania Warlock guys in one of their chapters. He's pumping sunshine in a federal prison now for all kinds of stuff. That wasn't the life for you. You ran like coward ran after Tommy got murdered. You bailed out a few days later. You know, it's a hard thing to watch, but when someone actually gets flipped in your where you're at, and you watch the next times you get together, and the numbers just diminish. Now you know why you don't stand out there and talk shop with everybody. Because not everybody's a solid individual. You know, pick and choose who you go to work with and who you talk shop to. Because them dudes are, you know, you went from, let's just say 50 guys in the street for church down to 15 in a matter of a few weeks after Tommy had gotten murdered. Well, you came around an organized motorcycle club, man, a 1% motorcycle club. Yes, this can happen. Yes, you might not go home. What did you expect? You know, you just think it's like party and let me go here and there and let me put this vest on these patches and I'm a superhero. Oh, man, that patch does not make the man. The man makes the patch.
So it seems like they really disappointed you from your aspect.
Extremely. Well, man, and it's not just the Hells Angels, man. You hear, you know, I watch a lot of podcasts with different people, and it goes on throughout all the clubs, man. There's a lot of things that all I can say is, hey, you know what? I did it. I made it. I met a lot of people who are right now extremely tight friends of mine and brothers. I call them family. And I survived it. It was a rough thing. I had a case dropped on me by another member in Philadelphia who wound up later on. We found out that he was an informant for law enforcement. And he set me up on the case that I got hit with.
Convicted of that, right?
Oh yeah. I did 5.5 years.
Do you mind talking about it?
That guy went with another guy from a different club, and they went and did some things. And the guy after that, I was down the house, and he says to me, I was leaving, heading home, and he says, "Hey man, can you stop by this place?" He was, you know, he did all these used car deals and stuff. Same guy, actually, Tommy wound up crashing into his used car lot when he got murdered. And the same guy that got patched the night Tommy got murdered. Grab this check for me. The guy should have it when you get there, man. And I'll see you, like, you know, in a few days whenever you come back or whatever, and you can give it to me then. I'd appreciate it. Save me having to run out because I got a car I'm selling here in like an hour. There's nothing of it. I pull up, walk into places, nobody around. I'm like, hello. Boom, out of nowhere, come a dozen to 15 officers, undercover, just jumping on me. And, you know, I'm fighting with them. I'm down in the hood, man. I don't know who you are. You ain't pulling no badges out. You're running at me with guns drawn. And I get taken down to the, I forget the number of the precinct. It was 55th and Pine. I don't forget it. And I'm in there, and a task force, all these law enforcement officers there, they're trying to get me to talk to them. Nah. So the one cop, one task guy, he comes in, he says, they held me for like 2 days. I'm still in the same clothes. I worked construction all day, and 2 days I got the same clothes on now, and it was like 100 degrees in the cell block downstairs of the precinct.
Did you have your patch
on? No, nothing. No, because I just came from work. He says to me, rattles on the door, "I'm going to tell you what, this is your last chance." And I go, "Last chance for what?" "Last chance for amnesty. You tell me what I want to know, or you're going to go to a jail for a real long time for crimes you didn't commit." And I go, "Well, wait a minute, man. You already know I didn't commit these. We know who did it, but that's besides the point. We want to know this, who killed Tommy." And I'm like, go fuck yourself. You're going to tell me the only way that I'm going to walk out of here is if I cooperate and become an informant for you? But you know who did it? Right then, I knew that dude was a rat. He was a paid informant. And, oh man, he skipped. He hid. He was like a rat in a hole. Only came out after dark and hid in the dark. Man, it was not good the whole time. I took the fifth in my case. The club knew. The club knew of what was going on. Not just Philadelphia either. The club knew. Many different avenues. Originally, they hit me with a 9 to 20 year. We'll give you 9 to 20 years in a plea deal. There you go. Nope. Screw you. I'll see you in the courtroom. So the co-defendant, I'd never met him before going to court. We'll go to court like multiple times, precinct, and then you get up to the court center city, Philadelphia, and I finally meet this dude. He comes out, this black man. Hey, man. And I'm like, looking at him. Oh, you the white dude they said is with me. I said, oh, you the black dude they said was with me? And he's like, yeah, man. He said, you ain't the dude that was with me. And I go, yeah, I know. So we start talking, and we get together later. And we're sitting down, and we figure out the dude that put the case on me was the dude that was there with him. And he goes, I'm going to find him and talk to him, man, because he's doing you dirty. And I go, yeah, I know. And so he had gotten charged with a few things. Oh, man, I had like a 5-gallon bucket full of charges, man. I had wristbands up, multiple.
So you're still in
And
lockup, right? You're still in lockup
oh, yeah.
at
Yep.
this point?
Yep. And I bailed myself out because those sorry bastard punk ass bitch members in Philadelphia could not get enough money together between themselves to get me out, you broke ass bitches. I bailed myself out. I had my old lady at that time bail me out with my own money.
What's it like being a member out on bond set up for a crime you didn't commit?
Woo! Let me tell you, man, like I wasn't even supposed to leave Pennsylvania. I did. It was not cool. Every time I'd start putting the word on the Philly members like, yo, man, you need to get this dude to step up. Because you don't do that. You don't do that. They definitely had something going on with him. He was one of them that wound up bailing out near the end out of Philadelphia. But he was a rat, a liar. And come to it years later, while I was locked down, I was in the law library, and boom, I come up on a case he had a number of years before that, where he was a paid informant, and he became an informant for the law enforcement and put 2 guys in jail for life in a club that he was a part owner of or whatever. He sent them down the river for like manufacturing meth, and told them where they could go and find a cache of machine guns. And yeah, so I don't know how he ever became a member of Philadelphia. You did not vet him. You did not background him. Yet this dude,
pagan before that? Was he a pagan?
He physically wasn't a pagan, but he had a lot of ties with the pagans. From what I understand, he was one of the dudes that actually set, I don't know whether he's a leader now but at that time he was the leader, Gorilla. He set Gorilla up to get shot on the street, telling whatever the case was. I wasn't around that, but like telling, hey man, some dude hurting your sister up the street or something. He goes running up the street. Guy opens up on him. This dude was involved in that, trying to set Gorilla up to get him whacked. It just all keeps going down the line. But I guess as long as you're a good enough rat for the law enforcement, they let you do whatever you want to do. You can get away with anything. So the guy that was my co-defendant in my case, his attorney was Larry Krasner, who is the Philadelphia district attorney at this current time and has been for several years. Larry Krasner, when I got convicted of all my crimes, and his client got like a year's probation or something, walked out of that courtroom and stood in front of me and said to me, your lawyer was a piece of shit. And if I'm ever in a position that I can do anything about it and change your conviction, I will. Well, what I got to say is, Larry Krasner, you're the Philadelphia District Attorney now. You're in a position, but you won't do anything. I've reached out multiple times, and you refuse to answer anything or do anything to correct wrongful conviction. While I was in there, I got the federal defenders picked my case up on an Innocence Project case. They interviewed the guy that said I was in there and did all this stuff to him. He gave them a sworn affidavit statement that he lied on under oath on the stand in the courtroom where I was, because the police coerced him, because I wouldn't talk to them. They coerced him into lying on the stand to convict me to let their informant go free.
Like you had
And
an
yet,
alibi for where you were and all that stuff.
oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I had the girl I was with then, she testified. At that time, I had a couple of teeth broken in a little trip and fall with a couple of people. I was at a dentist's like 2 hours away, and I had records of it with time, everything that shows I was there having 2 teeth extracted. My face was swollen up like this. Didn't care. Didn't matter, because their informant was doing what they wanted. And when I refused to talk to law enforcement or give them what they wanted, it was, screw me, we're going to send you down the river with no paddle and a hole in the boat.
When you're out on bond, you still have your patch, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You get convicted of this crime you didn't commit.
Right.
Send you to prison. What's it
Yep.
like? What was your stay like in prison?
The first, I think the first 3 state penitentiaries I was in, they was rough stops. Definitely. It wasn't nothing, but the last place they had sent me, I wound up doing like, I think 3 out of 5.5 at that place. It wasn't bad for me, I think it was the first or second place. Pretty much, man, you're supposed to be out on the yard. There's other clubs there. I was up in Camp Hill, PA. There was a Pagan on the same block. You're supposed to just not war in there, and that's a different thing. Y'all just do you in there. Pee Wee's mentioned that in things. George Christie's, man, you don't war inside. If you got to, you got to. Let's get it on and get it done with and move on. I did what I had to do in there. I spent some time here and there, in and out of the bucket, but it's just what you got to do. And, I walked the same in there as I walked on the outside. You respect me, I respect you. Don't, cross a line with me. I don't cross a line with you. We got along. Yeah, it wasn't a great place. I had medical issues going on. I wound up having a heart attack while I was in there.
Damn.
Medical is horrible, despicable in the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, write a request, right? Or you're having a heart attack, write a request.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Put a request in to see the doctor. And then hopefully in a week or 2, you get on the list to go up there. Or it sounds like a cold. Order something off a commissary next week,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Motrin, right?
Yeah. I have a medical condition which is called angioedema. It's horrible. Like, you can eat a pea today and eat that pea tomorrow, and tomorrow you blow up, cut your airway off, everything. I got the scar from the trach and everything. It's bad. I can remember having that happen one night, probably 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, waking up, couldn't breathe, gasping for air, banging on the door. The CO comes. Well, I think the dude was a lieutenant at that time. He comes. Man, I was straight with all of them. If you come down, you're going to lock me up, man. You lock me up. It is what it is. I'm not going to stand here and fight my way out the door where you got to take the fire extinguisher with the gel mace in it and soak me. Come on, man. And, we'll go down there and we'll see the review board. It's however many X amount of days. It is. He knew I was in a bad way. And I think, from what I understand, policy at that time was you got to have a white shirt, a sergeant, and 2 officers to open a door after a certain time of night. Well, that LT opened that door, man. I can remember right before I was passing out from lack of air, him throwing me in a chair, wrapped. And he was a big dude, man. Wrapped his arm around me like this, up underneath of my arms, and he said, "Hang on, man. I'm dragging you to medical." He pulled me in a chair backwards, supposedly all the way off the block, all the way down the corridors, which is quite a ways, and into the medical where they, banged me with several EpiPens. He got time off work for doing it. I ran into him, I want to say like maybe a couple of years after I was out. I came across him when I was out shopping somewhere. Walked up to him, man. I says, "Hey, you remember me?" He goes, "Hell yeah, I remember you. How you doing?" I said, "I'm doing okay now because of you." Because that night, I would have been dead in that cell by the time. It would have taken 30 to 45 minutes for security and everybody to get somebody to come and open the door. And I said, "Man," I stuck my hand out and he stuck his out. I shook his hand. I said, "Thanks for saving my life that night. I appreciate it." He said to me, "Man, you was a stand-up dude in there. And I respected you, man. You did what you had to do, but you never gave me a hard time. And if I gave you an order, whatever, I did my job." And I said, I respect you for that. I don't see him much. I might run across him like maybe every 6 months or something, but I run across him like, "Man, you want to grab some lunch or something?" Because he's retired now and everything, and he could do it without getting fired, I guess, or whatever. He was a cool dude. I'd pass him walking down the halls. He'd be like, giving me the thumb. "How you doing, man? Everything all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, everything's good." There's not a lot of them. There's a lot of shithead COs in there. And I'm not going into no race thing here, but being a white dude where I was, I think the population was 75% plus black inmates, like
Hispanic,
10,
yeah.
12% Hispanic, and, other. I think white was like 3% of the population in the prison that went on.
That's how it is in Connecticut. Same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that flipped, believe it or not, later, like a few years after that. And it was like, I want to say 40 Hispanic, 40 black, Asian, this, that. And it was still low numbers in white population within there. But I didn't have no problem with nobody, man. Like, I didn't get mixed up in the bullshit in there. I stayed to myself, did my thing, in and out.
Never ran across another member in there.
Not a HA, no. No. I ran across a couple of pagans, 2 or 3 pagans, one outlaw. I can't remember. There was a dude from another state. He was something, but I don't remember what he was. But, if I learned they were something, man, do we have an issue, whatever, walk right? Nah, man, we're good. I mean, hopefully you'll podcast with another dude that I was talking to, and I can remember a story he told me, man. He knew there was a dude on his block. Rather than have a problem, he went right up, approached the cat like, "Yo, man, if we got to get it on, let's get it on right now." Nah, man, we're locked up. It's old school rule. You're locked up. You're not flying your colors in there, man. You just do what you got to do. If it comes to it, yeah, you gotta do what you got to do, but don't make it happen if you don't have to make it happen.
Same way the mob approaches the situation. The mob, if they're fighting out in the street,
Yeah,
when they come to prison, there is none of that.
right. Yep. Philly had some good dudes, and Joey Molino was a great guy in Philly. I don't care what anybody says, man. The dude was a stand-up dude, not a rat. Stand-up dude. You wish everybody could be stand-up that comes through your lifetime.
Have you ever met Joey along your travels throughout life?
I met Joey years ago, working in Philly, doing some work down, I think on the street that was like his cousin lived on or something, and did a job over at like 12th and Catherine, which was a big hangout spot next door. Joey, in my eyes, man, like there should be hundreds more like him. Get rid of law enforcement, let the mafia run the law enforcement. We wouldn't have half the problems we have today.
Yeah, right. I agree.
You know,
When you get out of prison, Do you grab your patch right back up? Like what happens from there?
No. I had to walk off like 4.5 more years on parole. I had the first dude I had, they were all connected to the Marshal Service and stuff, all my agents. First dude, he was like nothing but a ball busting prick. He was a genuine, if I possibly can find a way to violate you, I will violate you. He'd call you at 9 o'clock at night. Be in my office tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock and be sure you can take a piss. Really? And I'd have to drive all the way into Trenton, like an hour or more to get there. Yeah, make sure you can pee in my little cup when you get there. Like, really, dude? So if you're in a, and then he wouldn't come out for like an hour after you were supposed to be there, just being a dick. And then he wants to stand there, like the general population doesn't know how it is. It's like, go into the public restroom, hold your shit in your hand, turn, and show the guy standing next to you that you do not know your junk, and pee in a cup that he's giving you while he watches you. Okay, man, like that's some parole officers. That's some.
It's hard to do. It's hard. I don't know what to tell you.
Especially in the beginning, man, when you're on the incept and you first get locked up and you move from county to state, if you can't pee, you go to the bucket. I don't know how to like different states, but Pennsylvania, if you cannot pee in that cup, you go into the bucket. Straight up, 60 days in the hole.
Yeah, they'll put you in a dry cell.
Yeah.
They give you a certain amount of time.
Yep. But that I remember when and it's like, how many times do I have to like spread my ass crack with men looking at me? If you're gay, I'm sorry, don't get me wrong. If you're gay, you do your own thing. That's cool. But I'm not. I got a couple of friends of mine that are gay. You do you, and I'm good. They don't, bleed it over to me. I don't feel uncomfortable around them. I'm not. But you gotta lift your junk up. Let me look at your junk. Bend over, spread your ass cheeks, and cough for me. Sometimes I wish I would have ate something where I had the runs and could have coughed and like shit all over their shoes.
I'm sure it happened.
Like here. Oh, I'm sure. I got something for you.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have got out to my visit that day or something,
Was there any situations in prison that happened that stand out in your mind? Like any major fights or anything like that?
I'm going to say like when I had got up to Graterford, SCI Graterford, they call you the banana bunch then. You're in a yellow jumpsuit. That's how you start out in the state as they process you and everything. I can remember there being a real young kid next to me. He did like a robbery or something. Kid was like 19, maybe 20, little white kid from out in the farm country. And he got locked up for it and he got sent upstate, and he was so petrified of being in jail. He would hide in the corner of his cell. And, they pop the door. You got like, I'm going to say 3 seconds to get downstairs and into the chow hall to eat in 1 minute and race back up to lock in. This kid was not coming down. I'd come back with like, if I could smuggle a piece of fruit or something or a couple slices of bread back on me. And I would walk by his door, man, and throw it in his door like, yo, man, just be cool. Eat that, man. It's something. I told him the one day, come on, man. When they unlock the door, get out here, man. If you're scared, go with me. We'll sit at the same table, man. We'll come back up. I'll make sure you get back in your hut safe. It took a couple of days of telling him that. He came down and he would start eating, chow. I think it was, this went on for maybe like a week and a half. And we're all locked in one morning. And, like you could look out the little window in the door and you could see this clock down the block. And we're like, wow, chow's like, breakfast is like 2 hours late already. And I hear all this commotion. Well, they drug him out or they actually had to leave him hanging up until the state police came to do an investigation, and they wrapped him up in the sheet, drug him out in the hallway, and left him laying there. This is a young kid. Once they cleared it, and then they popped the doors, and everybody could go to chow. So you had to walk past this dead kid laying wrapped up in a sheet that hung up in his hut that night. Took the sheet, and clearly, that kid needed some mental health help. And here's this young 19-year-old kid, and he told me I got arrested for stealing. Here he is, 19, not even 20 years old yet, and was so petrified of being in there that he himself.
Wow.
I can remember seeing fights in there where dudes had dropped 2-3 padlocks into, not the sock night. Get out on that block and somebody did something. Boy, them locks is coming in the sock, man. And whew, that's brutal when you see a cat getting, beat up with the padlocks in a sock multiple times. Dudes get sliced, stabbed. Just keep on walking. It's like, being in the city, man. Where I'm from, if I go to the city and the guy in front of me gets shot, if I got somebody with me, I'm grabbing their arm, like, keep walking. You didn't see shit. Keep on walking. That's got nothing to do with us. Keep going. That's how I was raised. I was a little kid when used to go with my dad up into Madison Square Garden in New York City for, I think it was WWF back then, the wrestling or something. And my dad and I were walking back down the street to the parking lot. And guy got shot right there in front of us, like 20 feet in front of us. I think I was like 12 years old. My dad grabs me up under the arm, half picks me up where my toes ain't even touching the ground. Keep moving, son. You ain't see nothing. Keep moving. Back to the car. I'm like, but Dad. He goes, you didn't see shit, son. Remember that. It doesn't affect you. It's not directly affecting your life. You didn't see shit. Keep moving. And I never forgot that. Don't got to do with me. I'm not getting involved in it.
So now, once you get out, you're on parole.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever violate you?
They tried to a few times because I married this whack job when I got out, and I had a dude buying a bike off of me that wasn't. It was supposed to be coming by and making payments and stuff, and he was coming by and dropping off blow to her, and she was whacked out on the shit, went nuts. And they tried to violate me when she went cuckoo, but that didn't work. They drugged me back in. I had, I think, 3 or 4 times law enforcement. I forget what branch it was. It wasn't like the parole board or anything. And try to talk to me like, we can help you out. I'm like, how can you help me? Well, if you want to talk to us about some stuff and, we know who killed this person. I'm like, I don't know nothing. And I wasn't there. Hearsay doesn't convict the person, so.
You helped me enough.
Sure. Yeah. I'll help you out, even though you knew I was innocent of my charges, and the police and district attorney in Philadelphia were all dirty and corrupt, incarcerated me on false charges that you fully know, and the presidential judge and several others knew. And because they were a Commonwealth state, they have to go A to Z. They can't go and jump A to M to R to Y because they're a Commonwealth state. But you know that the man is guilty, and you still put me away. Took my family, my children, my home, my job, my livelihood away from me for something you knew I didn't do. And Larry Krasner, you knew it too, and you still know it.
So do you have contact with the club while you're on parole?
No, we could not have any contact whatsoever with the club. I had guys that would try to reach out to me that, knew I was out on the street. And I'd be like, well, you can't come around my house, man. Don't even stop by and drop off a box of candy or nothing. Because the last thing I need is, I had one agent. He would sit. He wasn't even really good about hiding. He would sit down the road from my house in his fully tinted out, little Chevy Impala or whatever the hell those cars are they all drive. And sit there he was stalking me on stakeout. I kind of thought it was funny because I would go out the back door, hop over the back fence, go down around the block and come up behind him and like tap on the window like, Eddie Murphy here, man. There's a banana in your tailpipe. A couple of times he didn't think it was funny, but he laughed a couple of them. Be like, I just stuck the banana in your tailpipe. And I'm like, if you really want to know how to do some covert shit, man, I could help you out with that. I could train and teach you. But then again, I really can't because you're law enforcement. Okay, enough being funny. Let's go over to the house. Okay. Why sit down the street, man? Just pull up in front of my house,
Yeah. I mean, they're making it pretty obvious, right?
He was trying. I guess he sit back like, dude, I could go walk out to my garage and look out the window and see the front of your car down the block. Like you stick out like a sore thumb. At least change your car or something.
Huh? Did they pop up and search your house on random?
Oh yeah, yep. And the funny thing was, the whack job I wound up marrying, her old man was actually a prospect for me in the club. And he had passed away, and I'd known him and her for like 20 some years. He had passed away while I was jammed up, and she used to start coming to visit me, whatever, and got out and wound up leaving the first residency that I was at and going down there with her. When I tell you, like, he was out, I even went with him when he turned all of his stuff in when he had left. And so we're going through the house, and, I was not out on the street when that, the home check takes place.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'm walking through and, they're going to do the approval and all this. And I'm walking through and he starts opening these file cabinet, double doors up in the basement. And man, there's all kinds of Hell's Angel shit in the basement. I'm like, oh no. Oh no. And he's like, what is this? I go, man, I don't know. Well, where did it come from? I'm like, well, it's not mine. The hero man that died was, in the club, and he was. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but he's dead.
Yeah, they don't want to hear none of that shit, right?
Yeah, he's dead, man. He's gone, So there is no association because technically he was in, not her. And that's exactly what I told him. Technically, there's no association because he was the one that was in, not her. Women aren't allowed. So he's dead now. You technically can't stop it. He was like, yeah, I guess you're right. And I go, no, I know I'm right. I didn't know if I was right or not, but if he was going to play with it, man, I was going for it. If you fall for that line, the sinker and the hook, man, bite.
Obviously, they can do whatever they want.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. I moved one time when the wife went kooky. I met my buddies, man. I want to say that was the worst dirtbag parole officer I had the whole time. He was horrible. Man, he would come 5 o'clock in the morning, banging on the door like a no-knock warrant, Marshal service coming in, open the door at 5 o'clock in the morning. Throughout the day. And he was a jerk. He was originally up in the tip of New Jersey where he lived. And supposedly he like fucked off for a year and didn't do his job, and they caught him. So they made him come down here every day. And he didn't like that hour and a half drive.
No punishment for him, right?
Yeah. He did his own, but he was horrible. I mean, he was a jerk off. I got another dude. He wasn't bad. He told me, he says, man, I think at that time I had like another year and a half to walk off. He was like, look, I'm pretty simple. If I call you, I'm going to call you a day or two ahead of time and tell you I'm coming out to the house to see you. Because he was from up north. And he's like, I'm not going to call you and tell you got to drive all the way up north to come into my office. If I tell you I'm coming down here to see you, I'll call you a day or two ahead of time. I understand if you got a doctor's appointment or something you got to go to, you can't miss. That's all good with me. And he said, the only thing, he said, I really don't care if you go out and have a drink or not. I don't. He said, just don't be trashed or drunk when I get here. And I'm like, that's it? And he's like, yeah. I think that dude P tested me like 3 times in a year and a half. He's like, man, you're short. He's like, I read your whole thing. He said, you up on a case you didn't even do. And I go, yeah, no. He goes, I read the whole thing. He's like, I ain't fucking with you. If you got an issue, pick your phone up. You got my number, call me, say, hey man, this went down, whatever. And we'll work it out. I'm like, okay, all good.
You get off parole finally, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your next steps? And do you go right back to the club? Do you still have your pass?
No, back in like 2000 and sometime in '06, I think the club put me out bad. I went back, got that reversed like a year later, get my stuff back. I get my stuff back in like, I'm going to tell you like the second or third thing I went to. My attorney calls me, tells me we got to be in court tomorrow. And I'm like, well, we don't have a date to be, we got to be there. I got called, boom, non-association with the club. I'm like, okay. And, they could have like popped my bond then because technically, like, I was out of state. So they could have pulled it then, but they didn't. When I got out, by the time I got out, the club knowing that a paid informant and member or ranking member of the Philadelphia Charter had set me up on a case, did not do what they should have done in taking care of my legal needs and things throughout any of it. When I got out, by the time I got out, the club knowing that a paid informant and member or ranking member of the Philadelphia Charter had set me up on a case, did not do what they should have done in taking care of my legal needs and things throughout any of it. I'm sucking bitter apple. I'm not coming back. And I'd seen a lot. I reconnected with Pee Wee over the time when I was out. Numerous other guys that were out, found the thing they had put together. And I got together with them and they were like, what are you going to do, man? I'm like, I'm not going back. They're not true. They're not stand up. They're not, I'll say this, the West Coast is a different beast than the East Coast is. I believe the guys out on the West Coast are a lot, there's some guys that out here on the East Coast that, are righteous, but the club in general, man, did not do what they were supposed to do for a member who had gotten jammed by an informant and set up by a paid rat that they knew. From what I was told, and again, like I had mentioned to you, I don't know that it's true or not, but I was told that a deal was cut that if HA left Pennsylvania, that the Pagans would leave HA alone in another state. And that's when all this bullshit came down of, yeah, we want everybody out of PA. We want all the Philly guys gone. And they said they put it out to an East Coast vote. We go up to the econ and have it out in the backwoods in this pole barn. I got several calls that morning from other presidents that I was tight with. Dude, man, you might want to not go today because it's not going to go well for you. And I'm like, okay. So I sat my guys down before we ever went there that morning. And I told them, I said, look, I'm going to tell you what I've been told, that we're probably not going to leave there with our parents. And if you want to give me your stuff, I will take it with me. I will never think any differently of you. You will still be, friends to me if you choose at this time, knowing what you know, not to go. Because there is a chance we might not walk out of there alive. A good chance of it. They said to me, well, what are you going to do? And I said, that's pretty much a no-brainer. I'm going. But I'm not telling you have to go. You have to make your own choice. And I'm perfectly okay if you guys say you don't want to go, knowing what you know. But I'm still going. And they say, well, if you're going, we're going.
Nobody
Okay.
chose not to go.
No one that, nope. None of the guys that were brought up to be put out chose not to go. My sergeant at arms for the Pennsylvania Nomads. I mean, I left out of there. I had a broken neck, dislocated, broken and fractured jaw, 7 teeth knocked out, and a broken neck. He had a concussion that put him out of work for months, months and months. And I got to say this, that everybody that was put out that day was black boxed, which, maybe the citizens, if they watch it, they don't understand what a black box is. If you're put out, your club tats are covered up or whatever. They tattoo a black box, or you were remove your tattoos in some other form. But I was the only one that they didn't push any ink into that day. Out of everybody, they never touched me with that tattoo gun because, as I was told by multiple members and several presidents after they did that on the phone with me, can't contact somebody out bad. Well, they was contacting me. There was only 3 charters that voted yes to have us put out on the entire East Coast. They did not have that number. That was an invalid vote and a lie by the East Coast president and his little political force at that time. Which, at that minute, I didn't know that. But, I talked to all these guys and I said, and I can remember in the room that day when he called me out, and I flipped that table and told him, F you, man, and went after him. I'm not taking it off the hand to you, man. Come get it.
So can you walk
And
me through
they,
what happens? Do you walk in with these guys? How many people are you with? And you walk in, what happens?
I had, I think there were 7 of us, and we're in this big pole barn out in the middle of a field in the woods, and there's probably, say, 80 to 100 angels in there, all officers and stuff like. And that day there'd been quite a few guys that were beaten up and pummeled and their patches removed that day, and so we're sitting at the table, man, and I already knew what was going to go down, and I told my guy, I said, "Watch, man, they're sending the squad in." The squad, I call it the squad. It was the goons, the big dudes. They were sending them in to surround us, behind us, while this was taking place. Man, the first thing they did, they blindsided my SA. I don't want to put his name up, but the dude's probably going to pump sunshine now in the federal penitentiary for the rest of his life, exactly where he should be. He blindsided my SA. There was no man, no justice, no nothing in that. You want to take it, you got to earn it. I'm not just handing it to you. And oh man, I was fighting. And Charlie was there that day. Pee Wee was there. And I can remember him, man, I don't remember a whole lot of it, honestly, but I can just remember multiple guys on top of me. And to me, I'm fighting for my life. I can remember like Pee Wee telling me, my God, man, I can't believe like they was just hitting you and you were yelling like, fuck you. That's all you got. And, I guess because at that time I was a lot bigger and I just would not back down. I got a bad end on it, man. I had several surgeries on my neck. I had my jaw fixed, everything.
Were you knocked out, and when you came to, or when you remember, where were you and how
I,
did you get away
I,
from the situation?
oh man, I never went unconscious, but I was in a time warp several different times while they was repetitively like beating on you after you were just laying where you just couldn't do anything else. You just could not fight back anymore. And I can remember like one dude screaming in my face because I just kept laughing at him, like and going, "Fuck you, man! Fuck you, kill me, bitch! I don't care, kill me! Fuck you! You're wrong." They drug us outside, man, ripped our clothes off of us, drug us outside, took us in this like gutted out travel trailer. Man, I don't know how long we were out there, but I kept coming in. Yeah, at that point out in that trailer, it was cold, raining, and I was in and out of consciousness. And I can remember Charlie a couple times. He came in, man. I can remember him looking at me, and he was shaking his head, man, and he just put his head down like, this is not right. This, no. And later I learned like the dude that jumped on my SA first said to Charlie, come on, you like a good fight, man, join in. And he's like, this is not brotherhood. This ain't the way this club is structured. You don't do this to them. And he refused, man. And he even told me, he said, man, I never came back to the East Coast again after that bullshit they did to you and them other guys. That was horrible. And I go, yeah, you telling me. We were outside in some trailer for a long time. And then like we got taken out of the trailer and put into some car and like dropped off, I don't know how far away. Because if I'm right, it was like wintertime up there or something. We had drove up and they dropped us off wherever our cars were. They had taken our cars, man. They ransacked and ripped our cars apart and, dropped us off where the cars were. A couple of the guys, they got enough in them that they could drive, and they got me back home. The girl I was with, she came, got me, took me to the hospital. And, I don't remember a whole lot for about a week after that, being in the hospital. But
when you come to in the hospital, are they asking you questions like what happened? What?
Oh yeah, task force, all of them were there, and I'm like, I tripped. You tripped? And I go, yeah, I tripped down 42 flights of steps. That's exactly, exactly what I told him. I tripped down 42 flights of steps. No, you didn't. We know what happened. We want to help you. Man, get away from me. I got nothing to say to you. But they still try, They'll still try any way, shape, form they can to get whatever it is that they want.
Yeah, they'll think like you have a chip on your shoulder now because of this, right?
Look, you know what? I don't hate the Hells Angels. I don't like some of them. I don't hate them. I've gained a lot of people I call family now because of being there. I joke with my old lady, like, she worries, oh, you're going to go back to this or you're going to go there. And I'm like, nah, I'm done. I tell her, you know what? If the Angels and Pagans or whomever, and I just use that name in there just for sake, we're gunning it out in front of the house in the street, shooting each other. You know what I'm going to do? She goes, what? I said, I'm grabbing your lawn chair. You run in the house and get a bag of popcorn, and we're going to sit there and watch it. We ain't doing shit because that's got nothing to do with me no more.
Kind of took a weight off your shoulders, right?
Yeah, in a bad way, but it took off it all, and, I travel a lot of different places, and I think Jersey HA's got like 3 or 4 charters going now. And I've come across a few of the dudes that I've seen.
So you come across some of these people?
Yeah, I've came across a few, and I didn't go up and shoot the shit with them. Are we good in there again? But I have seen them. I know who they are. And a local, gas stop convenience store not far from where I'm at. I see these guys in there, and then I see, Patch Pagan pull in. These guys ain't wearing nothing, but they ain't starting nothing. Like, oh, I guess y'all play cards together now. I don't think so. Back in my day, we would have been rocking and rolling that went down. I don't know. I guess you just bring anybody in now, whether they got hard or not, just for numbers. Like I said before, I give every 1% true 1% motorcycle club out there credit, man, because it's not easy on any of us, no matter which patch it is that we wear, that we choose to run with. Some guys, they go and say, well, I hate this one or I hate that one. Well, if you're not directly involved in it, you got nothing to worry about and you shouldn't be hating on anything or any of it. Stay out of it. If you're not in that world, stay away from it. Keep your opinions to yourself because you don't know the internals and how everything goes. And I was a Hell's Angel. I lived in an area where there was pagan, warlocks, all these other clubs, breed. And I give credit to each 1% outlaw motorcycle club out there. We all fight a fight to be who we are. Pagans are pagans, angels are angels, we all deserve our own credit because we all stand up for what we believe in, or the majority of us that are there. You can't discredit somebody because you don't like the block that they're on. If that was their block, choose that block over there. They've been through the shit and everything else along the line, through it all. And we all do. All 1% clubs do. When the wars break out, it's not just hard on one, it's hard on all of them, even the ones that aren't directly involved. Because what law enforcement wants to do is they want to get one club member pinned down or multiple members pinned down and doing something and Repo them and make that flat out across the board where we can use that now against all these other clubs, not just Hell's Angels, but any of them. We can take this case law and Repo case and whatever case, and we can apply it to them. So, they'll never all get along. That's just how it is. But, George Christie was a good one at stopping the wars and kind of giving dividing lines and being able to converse with the other one when there was an issue and being able to meet with them and do whatever had to be done to get it worked out. That's where old school played a major role in all of these clubs coming up and being what they are and making everything flow. Where I don't think that they have it now. I think that it's maybe not totally gone away, but it's not what it was, and I think it's going to be detrimental to them all.
So when you were out bad, when they put you out bad, you didn't get to explain your side to these people who did this vote or whatever. What would you say to them now if they were here?
If they were hearing this podcast today, I'd tell them man, you did me wrong and you did me injustice. I was a true Hell's Angel, A to Z, man, and back to A. You never came right to me and asked me directly. You let a couple of your little political pansy make your decisions for you. And you did me dirty. And I'm not mad at it, but you broke the bylaws. And, that's the deterioration of the club. And you all should have been brought up on charges for what you did, but you weren't because of who you were. hopefully you don't do people like this in the future, man, because you're wronged and you had a dude that would stand up and took care of stuff that you never asked me one on one. Don't ask me something in front of 80 people, because if I could go back to that day in '06 and say, let's just say that number was 80, and ask those people today, how many of those people that were in that room are working with law enforcement today or have from that time until now? I bet you there's a good number.
And that whole situation was probably on tape.
I heard it was. I was told that, yes, it was. You know, it was a good day. You know, people go, what do you mean it was a good day? Look what they did to you. And I go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because I went in there and I stood my ground and I stood for what I believed in and I stood for the way a Hell's Angel should stand, and I did everything right. You did it wrong. So it was still a good day in my book. Broken neck, broken jaw, teeth knocked out. It was still a good day because I still stood up for myself. I was a man when I walked in there, and I was a man when I walked out. You didn't take nothing but a patch off of me. You know, I had 2 storage units full, car size, wall to wall, floor to ceiling with Hell's Angel stuff in it. When they did that, I was talking to the president of Baltimore, who's out bad, and always had the federal task force guy's telephone number in his phone to call him and tell him whenever they were going someplace where they were going and everything. I would talk to him and I said, man, all I want you to do is come get this stuff from me. Come and get all of this stuff. I don't want it. I want you to get it out of here. They send a prospect. No. Prospect does not touch member stuff. I'm like, man, you don't send a prospect to pick this up. Well, it doesn't matter. You're out of the club. No, you do not send a prospect to pick it up. Send a member. Months, man. It took months to get a member to come. And I said, look, I told him straight up. I said, look, I met him, I think it was called like Perryville, Maryland or something. Wound up taking a couple of truckloads and a carload down. I'm like, I just want to get rid of this. You know, I'm like, man, what'd you come with like 2 other cars with people in it for? Well, you know, I don't know. I don't. You question my integrity now? I told you just come and get this stuff from me. There'd be no problem. But you got like 6 guys in a car with weapons. For me? It doesn't make sense. But it took months and months to take all of that and, you know, get it back to them. Where I know a few guys told me you should have burned it. Videoed it, poured gas on it, and set it on fire. It was theirs. They got their stuff back. That was everything that was in the Philadelphia clubhouse too. That the coward quitters had acquired in boxes on the floor that night that they were going to take when they became outlaws, which wasn't happening. You know,
Yeah, when that happened, tell me about that real quick. When
so,
they were pulling stuff down, right?
oh yeah, so I was working late, and they were all supposed to go up to New York to get, you know, called up on the carpet on what they were doing. They all cowered it out. Well, I'm going to say like 8 or 10 of them just, you know, punked out and never went. They turned their stuff in and sent it up to New York with a couple of members. So I show up at the house in Philly and they're ripping everything off the walls. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, it's over. Philly shut down. We all quit. We this, we that. And I'm like, I didn't quit nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't quit anything. So they go and I forget, there was like Man, there were several $1,000s there that the treasurer had. They convinced him to leave with it. I convinced him to come back and drop it off to me. That he didn't want the problems that would come with taking that money. He brought that back, and I'm there, and one of them that quit, he comes through the gate, man. He's jamming around in the rod, got the gun up in my face. I'll fucking kill you. I'll blow you away. I'm like, really? Give me the keys to the house. I'm like, I locked them inside, man. Can't help you. I leave. Then they called me up, told me they were riding down the highway next to my old lady. I call my old lady on my other phone. Yeah, she's on the highway. Oh, you're gonna terrorize my old lady, man. Why don't y'all just come on up on the street here? I'll give you the money if you come see me. Yeah, well, I can promise you they weren't getting a penny from me. And one guy comes up the street. He's trying to shoot me, and trying to shoot me in an alleyway next to.
Dropped out. These are guys who dropped out when things were
Yep.
getting.
Yep. Later on that night, one guy from New York City wound up coming down. One, and he, pretty much if somebody had to come and it was only one, I'm glad it was that guy. Oh yeah, they were pulling everything down. They were starting to paint the walls white and black in the house, like they were going to become outlaws. Well, ex-angels ain't coming to the outlaws at that time. If they've changed the order that it goes now, I don't know. I'm not involved in it, but at that time, an ex-angel was not becoming an outlaw. That wasn't going to happen. And like I had said, when guys came down from New York City, he spent the night and, a majority of the next day there. And if anyone was going to come down, the right guy came down. I'll put it that way. I give him credit to his realm. If shit did go down and they came back, that's the guy I'd want there. That's definitely the guy that I would want at that house, standing next to me, in front of me, or behind me, because I know what we both would have done to protect what was club. Yeah, the other guy, there's another one. I think there's, the guy that was the prospect that was out there the night Tommy got killed. He's gone and dead now. The other guy that came back from Long Island that night, he was a worthless fucking ex-pagan liar. Slow-mo, they called him. In the Hells Angels, they called him Mark. But in the Pagans, he was known as Slow-mo. He was a liar. He said he's out there doing everything, and I can remember putting a tail on him for about a week. Come on, boys. And he goes to this card house. He played cards hard. And he's in this card house, a private thing, playing cards. He's sitting across the table from a pagan. We're at war at that time with him. He's sitting across the table from a pagan playing cards with him. So I go out, stuck holes in his tires. He's on the phone, calls this other member up. I'm in the car behind him in another, I had another big ass Cadillac back then. I'm in the car behind him. He's on the phone. The other member calls me. Where you at? Man, they're after Mark. Who is? The Pagans are behind him. They're chasing him. They're trying to get him. Oh man. He says, we got to call it. I said, man, go back to bed. Go back to bed. There ain't no Pagans chasing him. I said, I'm behind him. So I tried to get him to come to church for like 3 weeks. And because, I went to everybody at that time. And I'm like, dude's a goddamn liar and he needs to pop. He needs to be gone. Man, the shit I had to go through, meet with every single member in Pennsylvania to get them to cast that yes, put him out vote. Well, the night we go to put him out, everybody was supposed to be there. Wound up being me. So going through his house, taking everything that was Angel, loading it up. He's crying. Brother, man, don't Don't call me brother. You ain't my brother. You're not my brother. I go under his bed. I pull this garbage bag out. Now, what do you think I found in that garbage bag? 13, 13 brand new full pagan cuts. Brand new, never been on a soul. What were you planning on doing? Yeah. Oh, they're Pops. Well, Pops was a dude mangy. It was, on paper, couldn't be around the club that came over with Tommy. But 13 brand new jackets, man. What you guys doing? We going back to being a pagan? And yeah, I took them too. And they got turned back into them guys. Years later, I guess. But yeah, you got 13 brand new pagan jackets underneath your bed. And you're Hell's Angel. What are you doing with them? You can't answer that question, can you? No. Nope. And you sitting playing cards with a pagan across the table, man. We're supposed to be warring with them. And you playing cards across the table with one of them. You had no options at that point. You were going out bad. And you were going out bad in a bad way. Oh, man, don't hurt me, brother. I got a baby on the way. Dude, I don't give a shit about your baby, your old lady. None of it. None of it. You are a piece of shit. Your brother was murdered. You sit and play cards and lie. And lie. The worst thing that ever happened was, and it would not have went like it did if they weren't such rat bag cowards and lied every time they was brought up on the carpet about what they were doing. Not Tommy. I'm talking about after Tommy was murdered. They lied every time they would question on what was going on. Oh, well, we shouldn't go there because there might be guys from here or there, and we don't want to get into anything with them. What are you talking about? They're your brothers. If they got questions, you answer those questions. You don't run from them. And damn, don't lie to them because you caused a rat nest. You know, not being truthful, not being stand up, you caused a rat nest for everybody else. And it flows downhill, and the good ones got covered in shit.
Like you said before, you said that people who were in one of the big five, they can't go to other clubs. Do you think that's a good idea that they can't club hop?
Yeah, I do think that is a good idea because I was one and done, man. Hell's Angel in the beginning, Hell's Angel in the end. I don't think when you get to the structure of Hell's Angels, Pagans, Outlaws, Bagos, clubs of that nature, Mongol, whatever it be, that you should be given that opportunity to want to go to them where, things are different in the world now, man. We were at war all over the United States and world with all these different clubs at that time. If you're my brother and all of a sudden you're going to go and be one of those guys, I kind of feel a whole lot different about you and what you were thinking when you were here, or what you were maybe plotting for me to be able to get to there. Me, my blood ran red and white, not black and white, not anything else. Red and white H. To me, it's a one and done thing, and I don't think they should take from these other clubs, which, it's an unwritten, long-standing rule. You don't take from these other ones. And I think that should be the way it is. It should be that way.
Was there ever any time where people were getting their cuts taken from either side?
We had, I forget where, I think it was, that's definitely gone on, where a guy will get caught up out in the street somewhere by himself, and maybe 4 or 5 guys will come up and, my thing is, if you're in my house and you come and you say, hey, man, 5 XYZ club members took my jacket, took my cut. Well,
you better not look like I and you look right now. You better like either be calling me from the back of an ambulance, in a hospital bed, and you know, when I do see you, you better be pretty well lumped up, like you fought them. If you tell me they had a gun on you, hopefully you have a gun wound somewhere where you tried to fight them from taking your cut, because we have a problem if you don't. We got an issue. If you don't have anything, you just see these guys done took your stuff. It doesn't fly.
They used to take
It
them.
leaves a big question of whether you gave it to them or not.
Yeah, there's a video of a guy allegedly of Hell's Angel getting his cut taken on this video, and he doesn't even fight or nothing.
On what one?
I don't know. There's a video of a Hell's Angel allegedly getting his cut taken.
Oh yeah, I got you now. Yeah, I saw that. All I can say is, if that is a true video, I hope to God that like your injuries weren't too severe, that you can put sentences together right now. You don't stutter like Joe Biden from the ass beating that your brothers gave you for being such a worthless coward and not fighting back, and or you went into a hole and you're going to hide for the rest of your life. Like, you broke every mirror in the house. You can't even look in the mirror because you're such a coward. I couldn't that video. It don't matter, dude. You know, like, if there's 10 of an opposition, and it's got to be. But, you know, any day, there was an old saying, any day's a good day to die as long as you're a man. Well, you know, and citizens don't understand the world that you live in outside of the world they live in. Any day's a good day to stand up for whatever you believe in, and just be who you are and who you say you are, and stay true. But in our world, man, you go and you're just letting these guys take your stuff and run you down in the street and treat you like a punk. Like, I would probably have to wrap my hands up for 4 or 5 days with ice after I would have got done with that guy when he came back and told me, and I saw that video from punching the shit out of him.
There might be somebody watching right now that's thinking about becoming a prospect or joining one of these clubs. What would be your advice for that person?
My advice for that person would be, first thing I would say to them is, do you have a job? Do you have a family? Do you have kids? Do you have a house? Are you willing to give all that up for the club? Because you might. Very well might. I would say no one can stop somebody from doing what it is they want to do. We're in the land of freedom. It's personal choice. I know what it cost me and took from me. And would I change it? No, I wouldn't change the fact that I was there. Would I do it again? No, I would not. And I would say to these young guys coming around, man, really think about it first. Think hard about it, because you know, lots of situations are different, but if you don't have that support when you need it, what was the whole purpose of even being there? There was none.
You reconnected with a lot of guys from your past. You're able to keep relationships that you built while you were in the club.
Yep.
So you walked away with something worth having, right?
Oh, definitely. I think one of my best friends and my brother and my family is Pee Wee, Charlie Goldsmith, and multiple other guys that were members. You know, I got one good buddy north of me. I don't want to throw his name out there because he's the frick and I'm the frack, man. Like, we hit the road, we, you know, go places together, and I think I have a much more enjoyable time hanging out with him than I would have had hanging out with him with a patch on. The guys that are around now that were in and are out now are a great bunch of guys. Like, you know, if you're thinking of going and joining one of these clubs, I'm not trying to pump his book, but go pick up Charlie Goldsmith, Pee Wee's book, and read it. Brotherhood, the Biggest Lie Told. That book ain't nothing but truth in it, you know? And look at some of these other ones I can't say that I regret the fact that they did not do what they should have done for me, knowing everything. Do I regret being there and meeting the people I met and the things nah, that was my life. That's where I wanted to be. Today I'm doing what I want to do, just like I did then. No, I don't cast any foul upon being there.
You got a wild story, man, and I really enjoyed listening to it. And you're welcome back here anytime.
Awesome. Like hopefully those other two people, man, we would do like awesome podcast all together.
Yeah, let me know. I'm down for it.
I think your podcast will wind up freezing for a couple of weeks with the amount of hits that the three of us would get on there.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I could definitely use the help.
Oh yeah. Yep. Thanks, and I'll talk with you soon.
Definitely. I really appreciate it. And is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we go?
My dad in heaven. Still miss the hell out of him. I hate all those years I lost not being able to be near my pop. That hurts. That's the only part of that hurts. And Charlie Goldsmith, man, you're one of the most righteous, straight up brothers I've ever known. And a lot of other dudes, Kenny. I just can't say enough about I don't want to throw those guys' names out there, but they're a great bunch of guys that come together now. And they're more family than they were when we were all up.
I look forward to speaking with you in the future, and best of luck to you, man.
All right. Thank you.
If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, do fucking bad. Start your own podcast. Thanks, man.